The Supreme Court has overturned Roe versus Wade. Let me just repeat that, because this is a huge moment for the United States. The Supreme Court of the United States has overturned Roe versus Wade, the abortion rights ruling. A huge moment, a hugely divisive moment for the United States. We have been waiting for this to come through, and now we have the details that we have been waiting for. We now know which way we are turning. The Supreme Court has overturned Roe versus Wade, the abortion rights ruling. Let's continue to talk about the implications of this. This is something that has been long in the making, long in the building, certainly for the Republican Party. They have watched very carefully over the last few years the influence that they have been extending over the Supreme Court. We certainly saw a significant number of justices as a result of the Trump administration placed on to the Supreme Court. Some would argue that this was one of the key objectives of that. So just to repeat again, the Supreme Court has overturned Roe versus Wade, the abortion rights ruling in the United States. We're going to spend the next hour or so talking about this. I appreciate that there is a lot going on elsewhere, but this is a seminal moment, a pivotal moment for the United States, and one that is going to have a defining influence not only on what comes up in the midterms, how the Democrats, how the Republicans are going to adjust their strategy to consider what is happening here, and then thinking about what happens 2 years after that in terms of the general election that likely is going to follow. I want to take you now straight to Washington, D.C. We've got a whole lineup ready to go to talk about this. I'm going to start with Bloomberg's Annmarie Hordern, who is down in Washington, D.C. Annmarie, talk about how much of a surprise this is in Washington, D.C., or maybe not a surprise. Talk to me about the implications of what is being announced on the screen right now.
Well, Guy, I think you're striking the right tone in saying this is really a historic moment. This is the biggest blow to women's reproductive rights in about 50 years. But are you surprised, individuals in D.C.? Not really, because, of course, last month, this opinion was leaked to Politico. So there has been, if you could almost say, just a waiting in Washington, D.C. for basically the T to be crossed in what many were expecting, which is that this Mississippi decision would be leading to the overturning of Roe v. Wade. Now, Guy, you can imagine this is going to be very much so now a major midterm election issue when you look at the politics in Washington, D.C. And it's going to be a difficult one for Republicans when you look at some of the polling. And I want to bring you to one recent poll, Guy, because I also think it's important to understand the nuance. 2/3 of Americans say they do not support this decision. They did not want to see Roe v. Wade be overturned. This is the latest Marist and NPR and PBS NewsHour poll. But 7 of 10 U.S. adults say they're in favor of some degree of restriction on abortion rights. Now, this might be very difficult for especially some of those Republicans who want outright bans, even when it comes to a woman's health, the mother's safety, and even if that pregnancy happened due to a rape. There's going to be a lot of questions now for a number of states, Guy, that have some of these laws right on the books. But the fact that Roe v. Wade was the law of the land and it was a constitutional right for women to make these decisions about their bodies, they never went forward. So there's going to be a lot of questions about a number of these states, a lot of questions about how women are going to get access to this, and then, of course, the politics of all of this. While the Republicans, for many, have been seen as this favored party to win in the midterms, overtaking the House, potentially the Senate, because of domestic issues like inflation, where the economy is at the moment, consumer prices, gasoline, groceries, all of that going up. This is going to be a core issue the Democrats are going to get out and galvanize on.